this video, I'm just gonna go into a little car flow. I'm just waking up. I like to kind of enjoy my ride and talk to my guides and do a little rhyme. Kiwa a little light language, get my day started right. And as we set our intention to tune into these frequencies, as we set our intention to tune up, if you will, to turn up our own inner volume, we begin to tune out the other sounds, if you will. The light is not exactly conducive to videoing, but I don't care. We begin to tune out the crowd, if you will, and we begin to turn inward. We allow ourselves to erase self-doubt in that way and begin to reprogram through a consciousness, through our conscious resolution. So this is a play on words. A lot of the stuff I use are play on words. The resolution has been coming up a lot, like how we see, being resolved, having resoluteness, changing the lens of perception, changing the resolution in which we look at things. They become more clearer. And as we shift our frequency, we shift our vision. We begin to prepare ourselves from one perspective in order to meet and greet that which is unfolding before us. So I'm having a reference to looking in our future. We're able to predict our future for ourselves. Rather than looking outside of us to have those predictions validated or to have somebody else tell us what our future looks like. For we each hold within us our components, our composure. I'm seeing musical notes. Our own ability to hone in on the frequencies that are being offered. And there are many frequencies that are being offered. And they are playing louder than they have ever played before. And as you continue to play, you will tune into these frequencies in your own way. We continue to share this message in this way, for there are many who are not recognizing their own tune. They are not able to fine-tune their instrument, for they do not realize they are an instrument. The words that I was saying yesterday were an instrument of grand design, right? There's a higher scale, and we're designing into this. And this allows us to communicate in a much more musical way. And music is really harmony, right? Harmony and understanding. And as we allow ourselves to play in this way, we become new counterparts, if you will. I'm seeing counterparts from Mother Earth. I'm also seeing we counter other parts, like there's a lot of different things coming through right now, but we begin to speak the language of the universe. I'm being shown right now how English is such a watered down version of communication. But if we can utilize language in flow, in a different flow, meaning we utilize language, it's hard to explain, but I'm gonna stay in flow. We begin to grow our compatibility factor. We begin to grow and expand into and become more compatible with our forms and modes of communication with Earth, Mother Nature, our fellow siblings, fellow humans. But this isn't just humans, it's also, I'm thinking of the movie Contact. Like, it's not just our fellow humans, it's all beings. And there's many different beings out there. The more we come into this linguistic display, I always say linguistical, but linguistic display of open-hearted, I'm seeing array. The more we begin to compute in a new programming way, the more we begin to compute that which has been programmed, that has created distortions, is no longer holding the infrastructure. It is no longer holding the, play on words, complacent patterns that were once embedded into the way that we fell into complacency. For we are starting to recognize that within this streamlined communication patterning array, we begin to see the fractal of the all. We begin to see how everything is connected and commingling in such a way that we can de-scramble that which has been held at bay. So what I'm doing in this particular transmission is essentially I'm pulling together a lot of other things I've written, and it's almost a continuation of other things I've written. So we tune into the bandwidths and begin to enter our own vocabulary into the program. We become the bigger picture, if you will. We see, hear, and interact with the bigger picture. We begin to de-scramble the codes that are held within our DNA, that are held within our memory banks, that have been glossed over before. For that which has been shiny has been distracting, has disrupted our own inner intuitiveness, our own ability to intuit what has been available to us all this time. So I'm also seeing that it's easier, it's more available to us now than it ever has been for many different reasons. We are then able to hold our own pattern in such a way that not only are we de-scrambling the network, the codes, and I'm hearing the abodes of availability. So these different home bases that are now available to us, these different places we can go to. And again, I'm seeing contact. So, talking with our ancestors, talking with our relatives, talking with our galactic brothers and sisters, beings that have passed on, beings of the future. You know, kind of when I see bandwidths, it's like a radio signal. We tune into the radio signal and we're able to figure out the home base where it's coming from. And as we do this, we incorporate a new soundology. We incorporate a new vision, if you will, a new way, a new wave of creating sound, of listening to the sounds and the song of the universe. For the song that is being played is exceptional. The sound and the songs that are being played have not been understood in the way that many of you are understanding them now. They have not been understood. I think this is a play on words. It's kind of like I'll have to come back to that. Like, they have not been understood. Almost like they've been here, but we've been just under them. We haven't been able to reach them. Or they haven't been able to reach us. You know, that's basically the play right there on the words. So as we tune into this deeper inner architecture, we begin to transcribe many of the codes that we felt were, I'm hearing, had gone to the wayside. Like, we didn't think the codes meant anything. We just felt like they were gibberish. But we assure you that the universe does not speak in gibberish. The universe holds with it keys and mathematical equations that are accessible to all. Yet that which we are accessing now, play on words, it's accessing like something we're crossing through right now, or we're intersecting with, and accessing at the same time is the key to many of the complexities that we have been asking ourselves for centuries. Ooh. I have been getting a lot of messages about mathematical equations rewriting themselves, certain scientific things coming to our awareness, discoveries that are being made. It is truly like ushering in the golden age, if you will. Kind of like well, I'm hearing the Industrial Revolution, but more so than that, what is it when we came out of medieval times? There's a name for it, I just can't think of it. Got a drink. Had to wet my whistle. As we allow ourselves to come into these different paradigms, these different frames, these different abilities, paradigm is a play on words too. When I say paradigm, I always think of perfect, like par for the course, and I also think value, but I know it's a deeper meaning to that as well. We allow ourselves to move into this new space in time. We interact with the universe in such a way that we begin to play a brand new symphony. We begin to resolve, find resolution, find our own way. We are no longer being jostled about, so to speak, as we have been in previous plays. Play on words, but that's also like, I'm seeing us like, no, do this, no, do that, listen to this, listen to that, right? Jostled about. I also kind of see that as like something about our own humanity as a whole, just being kind of tossed around. Many different generations were unable to tune in the way that is being expressed now. So I'm just seeing that we're in just a completely different place in space. We're in a completely different timeline. We're in a completely different reality subset. And whenever I say subset, it's a bubble within a bubble, right? So it's like a subset, which is a space within a space. And we're essentially, now that we're here, if we can tune out the old frequencies and the old energies, and I'm hearing they truly are old, we can then move into the truth of old. Like, you know, not, so a lot of the stuff that we've bought into, or I'm hearing, and this is just from one perspective. For one perspective, we chose to do this. From another perspective, we were forced into certain things, right? Whether, you know, maybe we made agreements, and those agreements are not something we would have agreed to had we have known all of the rules, right? Or whatever it might be. And basically, I'm hearing the rules are changing. So the rules that we agreed to, or how we were when we agreed to those rules, have shifted. The very rules in space-time have changed. And this is something that will become more obvious over the next few years, and maybe even sooner. For our science division, if you will, has been majorly divided in its idea of quantum revolution, quantum information, quantum technology. So as I say this, I'm kind of thinking, yeah, but isn't there a lot of technology that is being utilized, but we just don't know about it? And what I'm being kind of shown when I ask that question is that part of the reason it hasn't been shown to us is because of where the technology came from, or where the technology is able to, what it's able to show us. And if, let's say, you have a mathematical equation and you think that all of life is based around this mathematical equation, and then you create this technology based around that, what I'm just hearing is that there's certain things that have been missing. Like, it hasn't been the whole piece of the pie. It's only been part of it. And I think that has to do with pie. I don't know why, but, well, other than saying the word pie. But I think it does have to do with part of the puzzle, part of the equation is, yeah, I'm hearing it's a deeper pie. This has been a long time coming, yet we've been held back at times from our own from our own disclosure, from our own discourse, because of this need for disclosure and this big, I'm hearing big talks, like a lot of talk, not enough action. Verbiage. For all of the, I'm hearing quantum tunneling. For the tunnels that have been created, and as I say tunneling, I hear the word tonal, which always reminds me of shamans and tonal, but it all has to do with sound. The quantum tunneling has been miscalculated on many accounts. This created a rift. These rifts are being accessed, but they are, I'm just going in flow right now because I have a lot of questions. Gosh, I wasn't planning on going this direction. Even that kind of rhymed. I'm hearing accountability, a ton of accountability, tonal, frequency conduction, landmine security. All right, so just briefly before I just go back into this, sometimes I just get this whole download of words, and then I go back and put it all together like a puzzle, and I don't always post them because I don't understand a lot of the quantum science. It's fun for me to read and look at. I do understand innately, though, what's being shared, and I'm seeing all of these tunnels that were created. I'm assuming, and I'm getting a little bit of a yes on this, that it's time travel. But it's also not just time, it's a tunnel going into the quantum, going into a different realm, going into a different reality, and I'm hearing a different box. So all of a sudden and I'm seeing Schrodinger's cat, which I still don't know. I know what that is, but don't ask me to explain it. So I'm seeing, then I'm being invited to play with this a little bit. So if you see the cat in a box, and I'm hearing the cat's been let out of the bag. So a lot of this was kept secret, and a lot of it created a war on technology. Like again, this is just from one perspective. This is assuming there is a polarity and a dark and light, but from another perspective, we all agreed to this game from what I'm being shown. And so there became a power play on a lot of this information. And so it was shut down, if you will, and kept at bay or out of reach from many of the starseed communities, us, humans who have the potential of advancement from a heart-based foundation. Okay, so a lot of this was discovered when we were not in a heart-based foundation, when we were in a lower time capsule or time bubble. Therefore, much of the information was coded. Okay, I remember this now. I wrote this down. This information was coded so that it would not be utilized for misinformation. There was a path that was taken, and the choice was made in order to keep much of this at bay until the time was right. The humans are making a collective sound, if you will. This sound is a vibration. This vibration is tuning the fork, if you will, in the road. As it tunes the fork in the road, we are able then to tune into a higher abode, the higher heart-mind convergence with the universe. We are no longer distracted by the inverse, the inverted matrix that once held so many captivated from one perspective. I'm just seeing a lot of people being obsessed with looking in their own mirror. Like, what is that? Is this pretty? Is this what it looks like? And not seeing that there was more around the mirror. And in this deeper sense of self-reflection, so this has to do with, we're not just looking at a mirror, we're looking through the mirror. We're seeing through this facade, and we're using our own inner compass, our own inner glass half full, and I'm seeing like glass I guess it's like through the looking glass kind of thing. I think that was a technology that was used, but we're using it on our own. We don't need the technology to do it. However, the technology is available, and because we are tuning into this higher frequency of expandability, it helps us to, I'm hearing, check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. So there's good things that are happening. There's a lot of people out there who are doing the right thing. It may not look like that on the mainstream, but because it's just not, we're moving into this expanded awareness, we're recognizing that a lot of the stuff that we thought we knew was based on an old reality system that isn't accurate anymore. It was accurate from one perspective, from what we were told the base was, but now the base currency has risen. So it's kind of like that movie, I've talked about this before, Midnight Special, if you guys seen that. It's a good movie. Okay, if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, you might want to fast forward the next minute, but basically there's a world that's there the whole time, but you can't see it unless you have the eyes to see it, or let's say special glasses. It's kind of like that movie, my friend Kat was like, you've got to watch this movie called Free Guy. So he puts on these special glasses and he's able to see everything. And essentially, we're wearing those special glasses, but we're learning how to use them. We're now recognizing that we even have them on, but we're not doing it just through technology. Our body is the technology. So we're then able to, our special glasses are our pineal gland, our pituitary, or third eye, and clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, knowingness, hearing, telepathy, all of these things that we think are maybe not possible, are encoded in us. So they are, I'm going to stop light. They're not only possible, they're probable. So while some people, and what I'm kind of seeing is that certain scientists and mathematicians are tuning into that, even to create the technology. Where do we think they're getting this information from? Right? A lot of it they're getting because they just all of a sudden know it, but they're getting it from inside the deeper wellspring of truth, which is the higher source frequency that we're all connected into, from my perspective. So we sit with this for a moment and allow it to sink in, as you allow yourselves to sink in and therefore sink up, if you will. As you sink up, you expand into a deeper realm. I'm seeing like Deep Space Nine. You expand out into the great void, and move out of the great avoidance. You move into a dance with these new realms, and you are able to quantify your own experience. So we are putting value on our experience. We're giving it a number. We're giving it validity because we're experiencing it. We're making it real. The imagination is a key component to all of this, for the imagination is one of your greatest gifts and tools. For so long, we have been tuning into transmissions that are telling us what and how to imagine. And this has created a blanket experience, if you will. That's like everybody's under the same category, the same blanket. There's certain limitations, right? There's certain things that are blanketed because we're all believing that that blanket is the highest level. Boop. And the highest level is beyond the scoreboard that the world is constantly keeping. I'm seeing in keeping themselves locked into. So the imagination holds within it many clues and cues and it's like a receptacle of knowledge, but it's also connected to, I'm just hearing divination. It's like beyond your imagination. We all have access to these beautiful imaginary spaces, and we each hold within us our own components in order to create. So I'm being shown it's so infinite, it's so huge, that it isn't about us. I'm just being shown that it's massive. So don't limit ourselves to what we think we need to limit ourselves to. That's fun. I'm also being shown that a lot of people have written things and kind of put them away, thinking that, I had to say hi to someone. Either way, we're just being invited to really pull out the old stuff and dust it off and see where it fits in the new reality, see where it fits in the new world. And how can we use this? There's a lot of us who it's time to throw away the old and just start fresh. But for some of us, there was this like concept and idea that, well, this never worked before, so I'm just going to get rid of it. But you can use, the words that I'm hearing are remnants. So a lot of this stuff that I was just talking about, science and all that other, all the other stuff, there's still remnants that are obviously very, very useful. So if you guys have started a project and it just kind of fell apart, it fell apart when it was because it was it was based on an old platform. But now that platform has upgraded, we've upgraded, and I'm just hearing, don't give up. Now, on the flip side, recognizing if we're trying to place a square peg in a round hole and see if it's still part of who we are. Sometimes, I'll give an example. When I was younger, I wanted to write vampire books. I was all about the vampire stories. And I could have done it. I mean, I had a lot of stuff written, and I never published anything, I never wrote anything, and I now know why. But it was important for me to do that at the time because I was working through shadow. I was working through nightmares, basically. I was working through some things. And it gave me the opportunity to create, and to create from a place of so now I'm not going to pull out those books, right, and start rewriting them because they don't apply to who I am anymore. They were, trying to get in a good spot here. They were great when I was in that stage of my life. So it's like trying to create quantum technology when you're living in the medieval times. It's just not going to be received well, right? It's not necessarily going to be understood because at that density level, people couldn't get it, right? They were too busy surviving, right? They were too busy, they were too busy surviving. And that's kind of what I'm being shown, as a lot of us were distracted and didn't ever have the ability to click into place, what we're being offered now. All right, so I'm going to end on that note. That was just kind of a little fun code. Hopefully you guys found it, fun. Have fun creating. Quick energy update. So I'll end on this note. I have a feeling I'll be writing more and more of these. It's kind of like a book, a story that kind of follows itself. Part of what I like to do is inspire other people to play with the words, to play with whatever it is that they're enjoy about, whether it's creating fun things with your children, or dance moves, or yoga, or whatever it is, utilizing your own gift to bring it forward to the world. Because that is a ripple effect, and we all have something to. It could be art. It could be that you've wanted to paint for so many years and you've never had the confidence to do it. It isn't necessarily about becoming an artist. Like my writing, those books was more about me working through shadow. It was more about me working through, you know, this, yeah, and practicing writing and playing with words and just having fun, you know, with that. So what I'm saying is go take an art class if that's what you've been wanting to do, and recognize that it isn't necessarily about you becoming an artist. It's not necessarily about somebody becoming a mathematician. It might just be that exploring that particular subject opens us up to what's already inside of us. It's like going and applying for that job that you don't necessarily know that you want, and you get hired and you don't know that you want to stay there, but then you meet somebody who introduces you to your partner, you know, or introduces you to a whole other world that you didn't know existed if you hadn't made that step, you know, in that direction. And it's all about movement and flow. On the flip side, if you're a person who's been constantly going and trying everything, you know, and you still don't know where your gifts lie or innate or whatever, sometimes it's more important to let go of all of that and just go within. And that's kind of the overall message I'm going to end on. No matter what we're doing, whether we're really active and we've got our hands in all the cookie jars and we're doing many different things, or we're just stuck, we still have to go within to hear that sound. And you guys, this is a science. I didn't go into this, but there is a sound that the earth is making. There is a sound behind the sound. And it's just like animals can sense earthquakes, and we are able to sense that and tune into it. And when we harmonize with these frequencies, heart coherence, right? Heart math, I always talk about, it helps us to drown out the other noises that are not part of our soul signature frequency. And then we hear by feeling and sensing, and sometimes literally hearing, clairaudiently, what it's all about. We hear the voice, and this is the direction we feel the need to go. Or maybe it's just about being still and being home with ourselves. So a lot of people haven't taken the time to get to know themselves. They don't know what they want to do. I get told this all the time in session. Well, I don't know what I want to do. Now I can sense by going into somebody's field what they might be good at, or certain things that they have denied themselves that I can see, wow, this is a gift that you have. Have you ever explored this? I use Kay as an example. Kay, who's now painting, who was not painting before, did not think she could paint. Now she's painting beautiful pictures. I'm using that as an example because sometimes we need a little help from our friends, brothers and sisters. But the first step is to go within and help ourselves and trust ourselves. Because I've told people or given people suggestions before, and they're